Hi there, I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent training. Welcome to our live Friday question and answer class, where I take your questions regarding American accent training, American English pronunciation, intonation, words that you find challenging to pronounce, anything really related to American English that will help you improve your personal and professional communication. If you're new to class, welcome. And of course, if you're not new to class, welcome to you as well. You can type your questions at any time in the chat, and I'll be answering them as we go. Really anything goes in terms of what you might want to ask. I wanted to talk today a little bit at the beginning about one of my playlists, which is called my Real Talk playlist. And if you follow our community page, you see that I have on YouTube community on Speech Modification Seattle, you can go to our channel page, and across the top you'll see playlists, videos, and this community page. I post quizzes and sneak previews and links to free lessons that you can use kind of on a daily basis to check in, check your knowledge, see what's coming up on the channel. And today I had a question for all of you, which was what else you would like to see more of. And so we have had just a few responses so far, but it seems like some of you are definitely interested in seeing more of my Real Talk videos because they focus on fluent speech, how Americans really talk. And to give you an example, I want to just show you how the written words don't really line up with spoken speech. Much of the time when we're speaking, we link words together, we reduce sounds in words. It's all about the efficiency of movement for speech. And what I show you in Real Talk is not slang, not inappropriate or unprofessional speech, but what changes, what's different from looking at things word by word versus when it's in a sentence. So the example I want to use is this sentence. And if I said it word by word, it would sound like, what are you going to do? You can hear how that's not how I really talk. When I really say this to my daughter or a friend, I would say it more like, what are you going to do? Or what are you going to do? So you can hear how it's fast, it's connected, and many of the sounds sound different than when they're individual words. Let's break it down. First of all, I link what and are. And because of this T is now between two vowel sounds, it becomes a flap T, sounds like a light D, or like a front flapped R. And so instead of what are, it sounds more like water. I also reduce the word are. A lot of the time in connected speech, it becomes just an sound instead of to a diphthong r becomes So what are becomes water. You often gets reduced to ya, what are ya? And that's a vowel schwa. So the clear vowel u, because it's unstressed in this sentence, becomes more of a ya instead of you. And we use this professionally. It's not informal or unprofessional to change that vowel. And then when I'm saying going to do, I link those three all together. And sometimes, more casual, what are you going to do? That's where my length is. The rest of it is all fast. Or going to do becomes a flap again, going to do. Or and this oo becomes a schwa, going to. So going to do or going to do. I would say that these two, what are you going to do or what are you going to do, are the most appropriate and professional. Gonna, I'm going to save for when I'm talking more casually with my friends. Although depending on the work environment, you can also use gonna. It's just definitely not as formal as the others. So just in this very simple phrase, many changes from the written words to the spoken words. My Real Talk playlist shows you how this works for a number of other different phrases, as well as I take things like TV shows, commercials, and I show you what the people are saying in those contexts, how it sounds, in real life and how that looks in real life versus the written words. So check that out on the Real Talk playlist, and I will be making some additional videos for that. I do also have a Real Talk course on speechmodification.com. You can go there and check out that advanced learning course. It teaches you how to do this technique yourself to use it to improve your overall accent. So let's see some of our questions, and thank you for your patience. I'll get to your questions now. Berenice wants to know how to pronounce Skype. So this is something we all have to talk a lot about, right? So that would actually be some good videos to make. Skype, Zoom, Google Hangouts. What else do we use? All those different contexts. So Skype has the SK blend at the beginning, and then the letter Y says I, just like the pronoun I or the letter I. It's a diphthong that goes from ah to I, and then the P. So Skype would look like that. I would think of it as maybe if you're having, it's probably not that hard to pronounce. You weren't certain about how to do it. So just think about the word sky and then add a P to it. Sky plus a P. Skype. Great question. I hadn't thought of that one. Dana has a question. Speaking of Real Talk, is it possible to substitute the a in the first and unstressed syllables of mascara and raccoon with the schwa sound instead? For example, mascara and raccoon. I would say you can probably get away with that for mascara. Mascara. In both cases, like when I say it, I think I always say mascara, even though it's short, and raccoon. But when I tried it to see what I thought, and when I said mascara, it sounded pretty similar. Raccoon, I don't think so. I think you have to have raccoon. I think that one sounds strange, like a different word. So the and for unstressed syllables are a little more interchangeable. When it comes to the a, I think it's there for a reason, and we do actually use, even though it's short and reduced, we do use the a vowel. Good question. We have a question about whether or not I have free courses. Yes, so I have this weekly Friday live class. On my website, I have, let me just show you. I have a free practice section that has many, many free lessons. And so that's a really great resource for, so here's speechmodification.com. Here's the free area. So I have a blog, which is it's some lessons, but that's mostly ideas and links to other information. And the online practice free trial is where you can see a lot of different lessons. So sometimes it'll be a recent video. I also recently added this lesson about how to get started with working on your accent, how to know what error patterns you might have, and it has some links and ideas for you. You can also search based on your native language on certain sounds, or you can follow some of my recent challenge playlists from YouTube here on the website. Then in terms of my courses, my online courses, all of the online courses have a free 2-week trial. So you can check them out and see if you like that style of learning. I keep the price of those courses very, very low so that I want them to be accessible to everyone, even if you don't have the big budget for this. And the idea there is that you can work on your own using videos and lessons and work to improve, because I know many of you are working hard on this, looking for organized and helpful resources. And so those are there. I do have one free course on here, which is accent training mini course, and it kind of walks you through some of the steps of getting started and teaches you how to use some of the resources. So I highly recommend checking those out, and thank you for that question. Okay, so we have a question about how to pronounce Juneteenth. So that is, as I was just showing you, what I have on that's one of the latest videos I just made. So we'll review that quickly together. You can also find it on the channel page and here on speechmodification.com. But today is Juneteenth, so happy Juneteenth, everyone. And the pronunciation follows the rules that are true for numbers. For example, Juneteenth comes from June 19th, and not 19th, 19th. And when I'm saying that June 19th, I stress June, and my main stress is on teenth. So it sounds like June 19th, 19th. That's a way I can tell the difference between 19th and 90, where 90 has first syllable stress versus 19th has second syllable stress when I'm comparing those two. So when I'm talking about the date, I would say today is June 19th. In Juneteenth, we just take out that 9, and we have, again, the stress is on teenth, Juneteenth. Probably the most challenging thing about this word is how to pronounce the TH at the end. So you can try Juneteenth, or just try teen, and then teenth. When I have that N and TH together, what happens is I can't really go from the N, teen, with my tongue touching up for the N, to the TH very smoothly or easily. So I have to have my tongue already ready for that TH when I say the N. So rather than teenth, tongue up, tongue between, I have my tongue between and I just close off the air to form the N further back on my tongue. It looks like this. You can see how my tongue is already sticking between my teeth for the TH sound as I do the N. So this is something I talk about. I have a video about ordinal numbers. So it's true for words like ninth, 10th, etc., where I have an N and a TH together. I just have to prepare for that TH. Otherwise, it's too cumbersome to say. So it's Juneteenth, and that was a great question. Thank you very much. Let's see. We have a question about practicing speaking with your students. So oftentimes people leave comments here on YouTube and especially on Facebook that they're looking for a speaking partner. And I encourage you to respond to each other in the comments on Facebook. If you're looking for someone, search through past lessons and exercises there, and you'll find other people that you can connect with. Also, on my website, I have some links to, here in the blog, I have some links to other English learning resources. So definitely practicing getting to speak English with others is really helpful. And perhaps I will set something up on my website where you can find one another. Right now, if you go to the blog and you look at online resources, you'll see links for my courses as well as some English learning and grammar sites. Those resources are go into more detail about grammar since my focus is more on accent and pronunciation. And then you'll also see this link here about how to practice in conversation. And what this has is some websites. One's called Conversation Exchange, italki. There's a couple of different websites there where people are looking for other people to practice with. I also had someone suggest an app called Tandem, and that's something, again, where people are looking to do language exchange and practice. So I wish you luck. I hope you can find people to practice with. I also just recommend, if you're having trouble finding a speaking partner, you can really do a lot by yourself. Yes, it's great to have conversation and practice, but I can do things like narrating what I'm doing, thinking and speaking my thoughts aloud. The more I'm talking and having to produce that language in English, the better it'll be for me for my language development, vocabulary, and even accent. When I'm thinking and speaking more in English, that part becomes easier, and I don't have to focus on it as much. I can focus a little bit more on my pronunciation and accent. I have a few videos talking about those techniques as well. Thanks for your question. And I hope that you will find some good resources for that. All right, so we have a request or a question about the color cyan, and then another request, Pulitzer Prize. So cyan, I'm pretty sure that it's an S sound, an I diphthong, and an A, just like the word an, vowel A, cyan, with second syllable stress. But like I often show you, if I am not 100% certain about a pronunciation, or even if I'm pretty certain but I want to verify and look at some different options, I like using an online dictionary. So I use the Oxford Learner's Dictionary because it shows American English and British English. And I will also sometimes consult a number of different dictionaries so that I can compare and see if there's more than one accepted American pronunciation. Sometimes the dictionaries will differ. But yes, I see that they have cyan, and they aren't actually marking the syllable stress there. Oh, no, they're marking it as first syllable. So I wasn't quite right. It's not cyan, but cyan. That sounds kind of strange to me, but let's listen. I don't think I have the sound on. So
Cyan.
Yeah, okay, so they say it cyan, and British.
Cyan.
Okay, British cyan. They're just saying it a little shorter. So cyan, not cyan. Yes, okay, and your other question was for Pulitzer Prize. So Pulitzer sounds, it's kind of one that doesn't really match the spelling, but it's a person's name, so that's probably why. So it sounds like the word pull has vowel that's the vowel in put, pull, could, etc. Pull it lacks I vowel. Tsur has a TS sound and then an sound. Pulitzer, first syllable stress. Pulitzer Prize, I'm going to have secondary stress on pull and primary stress on prize. That has the I diphthong and a Z. Pulitzer Prize. Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. We had a question about coronavirus updated in my area. So I live in Washington State in the U.S., and this state was one of the first. We had some of the first cases in the U.S., maybe the first case. We also closed down the state and did shelter in place much sooner than many other places in the country. And we still are just in phase 1 of reopening. So especially in the bigger areas, the metropolitan areas, like Seattle, there's really been a lot of limited reopening. People are still staying home, and we haven't really seen a lot of spike in cases. Some other places in our state have had a more accelerated opening because they have less dense of population. And I do think overall Washington State has seen a rise in cases lately. But the best resource, of course, for that type of information is the CDC website or the World Health Organization website. For my area, you can also look at the King County website for COVID-19, and they'll give you the latest numbers and figures. But in terms of my life, I'm staying at home, sheltering in place, and people here are, I think, doing their best to protect themselves and one another when they do go out in public. So I hope that that's true where you are as well, and people are staying safe. Thank you for asking. Let's see. We have a question about how to interpret the apostrophe in the schwa pronunciation as in origin, recipe. So the what you call the apostrophe, the diacritic, is a little line that goes before the stressed syllable. So for example, in origin, it goes before this syllable. It just means that you want these two syllables to be short, origin, and that you have a clear vowel and more length on that stressed syllable. And in your other word, recipe, I would say that it actually should be before here, not before the schwa. So recipe. recipe means you're going to have a long first syllable and shorter second and third syllables. You can learn about how to read the IPA symbols from the dictionary and how to look at this syllable stress idea in my videos about syllables. Also, every day in our word of the day video, we look at which syllable is stressed and we look at that symbol, and getting used to how that works will be helpful for you when you're trying to use the dictionary to understand pronunciation. Good question. Okay, we have a question request for the word television. So let's take a look. So back to our syllable stress. We have first syllable stress, so I'm going to put my apostrophe or my stress diacritic before the first syllable. Tell, I think it's a schwa. Television. So many of our word of the day videos recently had this this pattern of the zh sound. It sounds like an sh, but with our voice on. So sometimes I write that as a zh. Basically, you want to have the sh mouth position, like shh, and turn your voice on. And so the tion in this word sounds like a jean, and that's a vowel schwa. So I would think about it as being I would say maybe vision. So it's just like the word vision, which also might give you some trouble, but the letter S and the letter Ti say zh in this word. I do have some videos about zh that you can check out on my American Sounds playlist for more help with that. Yeah, that's a good word. All right, so let's see. We have some comments about the practicing, and including that speaking in the mirror helps, and that there are lots of native speakers who are willing to practice. So that's true. You can also look on resources like Fiverr or some of the shared work resources where people for a very low fee will give you practice if you just want someone to talk to in English so that you can practice your skills. We have a question and request about improving listening and speaking with the vowel sounds, especially A, E, and U. So for that, I'm going to say that if you go to my website, or if you just prefer to stay on YouTube, you can go to my Vowels playlist. You'll see I have a lot of lessons about vowels on speechmodification.com. And again, here on the free practice site, what you can do is you can type in the search box. If I just type in vowel, I'll see a lot of these lessons. And to get started with working on the vowels, I think it's very helpful to have a sense of the vowels overall. So for example, my lesson called How to Pronounce American English Vowels, I have some videos that tell you about each of the vowel sounds, how they sound relative to each other. That's not the one I wanted. And so we have 5 letters for vowels, but we have 15 different sounds. And so beginning to get oriented to what the sounds are, what the symbols are, and these anchor words. So for example, for E, very often E says eh, like in red 10, the letter E. And you may be saying it more like the eh sound, because in your language it might be that the E sounds more like an A. And the letter A will say ah, or ah, or ah, or also many different sounds. And the letter U often will say the like in good book, or the oo like in blue shoe. So getting organized with thinking about sounds rather than letters is really helpful. My vowel playlist has a lesson for each of the vowels, as well as a number of videos that show you how to understand all of the vowels relative to each other, how to pronounce them correctly, and how to practice. So I would say those are the best resources to start with. Thank you for your question. We have a question about the word scorched, and it's supposed to be pronounced with the succinct T sound at the end. So I just said it that way, scorched. That's because the letters ED say T when they're after a word with a CH. So scorched sounds like that. Same with watched or touched. The ED becomes a T. That's also true for words like washed, SH plus ED is a T, also S, K, other words that have voiceless sounds. I do have a video about what ED says. If you search under past tense, you'll see that I break down which verbs in the past tense have a T sound, which have a D sound, and which have an extra syllable like an id sound. So yes, to answer your question, scorched, you do really want to hear that T, otherwise it's going to just sound like scorch, the present tense verb. So yes, let me see. Next question. We have a request for the word attitude. That's something I covered recently in my words of the day. So we talked about the words gratitude and attitude. And I would say the most important elements to pay attention to are that the first T, attitude, is a flap, so it sounds more like a D. And the second T is the beginning of the syllable, so we stay with a T sound, tude. So if you rewrite it like attitude, attitude. So even though this is in real life is spelled with T's in writing, we say it more like a D, and it has first syllable stress, so long, short, short, attitude. Same thing for gratitude, just add the GR at the beginning. Okay, we have a question from Dana regarding word choice. She says, what's the general term for shoes worn in outdoor activities or in gym class, specifically in the Midwest? So I grew up in the Midwest, and we called them tennis shoes. They are also called running shoes or sneakers other places. We also actually sometimes said gym shoes. I would say tennis shoes is most common in the Midwest, and then gym shoes or running shoes come next. I did recently find, if you do a search on Harvard Linguistic Survey, you'll see that they have done a lot of research about word choice and what words are used and how words are pronounced differently in different areas of the US. And I have some information about that on my website as well that kind of talks about regional dialect differences for, word choice and pronunciation. So that's my specific area of the Midwest. Of course, the Midwest is big, so it may be slightly different depending on where you're talking about in the Midwest. So we had another request for the words perimeter and paramedic. So perimeter has second syllable stress. And I would say kind of thinking about that first syllable as a schwa sound. So it sounds kind of like parim, just like the word rim. Perimeter, another schwa, and this T becomes a flap, perimeter. And then paramedic, different syllable stress pattern, pair, and here we kind of start with the air, so we're going to have secondary stress there. Paramedic, main stress on med. So just like the word medic, medic, main stress on med. Short, short, long, short, paramedic. These are helpful words. Challenging because of the R's and the flap T's in some cases, but I think you can get it. Thanks so much for all of the great questions today, everybody. We'll be back again next week with our live question and answer class on Friday. And tomorrow with our word of the day, which I forget now what tomorrow's word of the day is going to be. Oh, it's going to be the word liberty. Liberty. So in honor of the day after Juneteenth, we're going to be talking about liberty. We did also have a word of the day a few weeks ago, which was several words: justice and injustice, equality and inequality. So you can check those out if you'd like help pronouncing those words, which are important and timely right now in the US. Thanks so much for being a part of class, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. If you're watching this on Facebook, you can, you probably already saw this, it's already over, but my Facebook viewers can ask their questions in the comments. And if you're watching this as a replay, you can always leave me a comment, a request, or a question. And I do go through those every day, send you links for resources for information from the website and videos I've already covered. And I also write down your requests for future Word of the Day videos if I haven't already covered that. So thanks so much for all of the suggestions, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound American, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye, guys. Thank you.